everything shifted the instant I saw the video. I was peacefully setting the table for our regular Sunday family dinner when my daughter-in-law Melissa appeared in the doorway, recording me with her phone. At first, I assumed she was filming the lovely meal, but then I heard her laugh and say, "Our live-in maid. At least she is useful for something." A few minutes later, she uploaded the video online with that same caption. The worst part was not her joke, it was watching my own son Ethan respond with nothing but a laughing emoji. In that moment, I understood I was no longer being treated like a mother. I had become unpaid help inside my own home. A year earlier, Ethan and Melissa had asked to move into my house so they could save money for a place of their own. I gladly agreed, because I believed family was supposed to support one another. Before long, I was preparing every meal, cleaning the house, washing their clothes, buying groceries, and covering most of the bills. They never asked whether I was exhausted or thanked me for everything I handled. They simply expected it. After seeing that video, I quietly packed a small bag, walked out of the house without saying anything, and checked into a cozy bed and breakfast where I finally had time to think. The following morning, Melissa sent me an angry message saying her grocery card had been declined. She had no idea I had already canceled the extra debit card I'd given her for household shopping. When I came back home later that day, both of them demanded an explanation. I calmly told them that if they wanted to be treated like independent adults, they could begin paying for their own groceries. I asked for the card back, and Melissa threw it onto the table, while claiming the video had only been a joke. I simply reminded her that jokes can have consequences. From that day onward, I stopped doing everything for them. I cooked only my own food, washed only my own dishes, and ignored their laundry. Ethan complained because he needed a clean shirt for work, but I reminded him that the washing machine still worked perfectly well. Melissa claimed she was too busy because of her gym schedule, but I refused to handle chores they were perfectly capable of doing themselves. For the first time in months, I stopped behaving like their caretaker and started behaving like the owner of my own house. As the days went by, I began noticing how much of my home they had gradually taken over. Their shoes crowded the hallway, their magazines covered my coffee table, and their belongings occupied every room downstairs. I collected everything into baskets and placed them outside their upstairs bedroom. Then, I carried my favorite reading chair back into the living room beside the window, taking back the space I had silently given up. Melissa hated every change, but I calmly reminded her that it was my house, not hers. Soon Ethan came to me with another request. They were planning a beach vacation and expected me to give them money like I always had. This time I refused. Instead, I hired a handyman to put locks on my bedroom and home office after realizing Melissa had been helping herself to my personal belongings whenever she wanted. She asked why I suddenly needed privacy, but I answered honestly, I was protecting my peace. The next task was the garage. For almost a year, my car had remained outside while their moving boxes, old furniture, and unused equipment filled every corner of the space. I spent an entire afternoon carrying everything into the covered storage area in the backyard before finally parking my own car inside my garage again. Ethan was furious when he returned home, but I explained that if they wanted to keep their belongings, they would have to arrange them themselves. I was no longer giving up my comfort for their convenience. Their irritation only increased. One morning, they removed several of my groceries from the refrigerator and left a note saying they wanted separate food from now on. Instead of arguing, I purchased a small refrigerator for my office and filled it with my own groceries. When they opened the kitchen refrigerator and saw almost nothing inside, they realized I had accepted their suggestion. From then on, they would purchase and prepare their own meals without depending on me. The greatest surprise came one Friday evening when Melissa invited her parents to stay for the weekend without asking me. She confidently guided them toward the guest room, only to find the door locked. I had already turned the room into my personal craft room. I politely welcomed her parents, but explained that any guests they invited would need to stay in their upstairs living area. It was awkward for everyone, yet it finally made them understand that they could not make choices about a house they did not own. After that weekend, I handed Ethan an envelope containing a rental agreement. I explained that if they wished to continue living upstairs, they would start paying fair rent along with their portion of the utilities beginning the following month. If they refused, they had 3 months to find somewhere else to live. It was not revenge or punishment, it was simply a clear boundary that should have been there from the beginning. Several days later, Ethan quietly returned the signed agreement. He apologized for the video and admitted they had taken me for granted. Their behavior gradually changed. They purchased their own groceries, washed their own clothes, respected my privacy, and treated me with basic respect. 4 months later, they moved into their own apartment, finally prepared to build a life without relying on me.